Amici di Vita da Pugili, buonasera. Anche questa sera abbiamo una sorpresa per voi. Abbiamo iniziato questo ciclo di interviste con personalità del nostro sport, non soltanto in Italia, ma anche personalità internazionali. Questa sera è veramente un grandissimo piacere poter ospitare con noi all'interno della nostra trasmissione il grandissimo ex campione del mondo dei pesi mediomassimi, Donny the Golden Boy Lalonde. Hi, Donny. Thanks a lot for being with us in Vita da Pugili.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry. I wish my Italian was better. I have spent a fair amount of time in Italy. I love your country, but my English isn't even so perfect, let alone Spanish or Italian.
We will. No problem. No barrier language. I hope you can come back in Italy and also enjoy all the good things that we have in Italy, and maybe learn a little bit of Italian as well. Okay, so Donny, we are delighted to have you here with us, and of course, we would like to discuss a little bit with you about your professional career, about your about the process that brought you to be a fighter, a boxer, which I know it's quite of an interesting story, not only from a sports point of view, but also from a personal point of view, and that's something that we would really like to share with our friends here on Vita da Pugili. Just a little bit of a bio for the very few people that probably wouldn't know you. Donny Lalonde, former WBC light heavyweight champion of the world. He's very, very famous for his incredible match and fight with Sugar Ray Leonard, but it would be an injustice to describe Donny Lalonde just for that single fight. Of course, he had a very long career, 23 years as a professional, actually, from 1980 to 2003. So very, very long and seasoned boxing professional, from light heavyweight to super middleweight, and we'll go through that because of the fact that probably you have something to say about that, up to cruiserweight in the final stage of your career. Donny, what brought you to be a boxer? What brought you close to boxing in your after your childhood and in your teenage years?
I would have to say looking for a vehicle to develop some self-worth, self-esteem, to feel safe to walk down the street. You know, where I grew up, it was pretty rough. It was a pretty poor area, and people were very violent, So I felt, well, I did. I used to have to fight on my way to school to get to school on time, and I would be late. And finally, my mom said, "Why are you always late? You leave early enough. The school was only a block away, like 100 meters." And I said, "Well, I have to fight on my way there, and sometimes it takes a while." Goes, "What do you mean you have to fight on your way there?" Well, the Catholics lived here. We lived where the Catholics lived, and the Protestants lived here, and the school was in the middle. We had to go. No, I mean, we had to pass the Protestants to get to the school, to the Catholic school, and they went to the Protestant school the other way. So we had to fight all the time, and so eventually she became the referee. Can't be late, so I'll go with you, and you guys fight. And when one person's clearly the winner, that's over, and then you fight the next guy one at a time, not 2-on-1. And then when you're finished, we get to school, and then there was a boxing gym called the Astoria Boxing Club in Vancouver, right near us. It's still there.
Okay.
And so she said, "You got to go to the boxing club. I mean, you might be winning these fights, but it'd be a lot better if you learned how to box." And so that's what actually first got me to a boxing gym.
Okay. And how old were you when you first entered
I was like 11 at that time, but we moved up north to right near Alaska after that, about a year after that. And they only had hockey. They didn't have boxing.
Okay.
Boxing. Okay. So I didn't box again for 6 years.
Okay. And what brought you back to boxing after that?
Well, by then I was 16 years old. I was actually 17 when I started boxing, but at 16, actually before 16, 15 years old, 4 months before I turned 16, I left home because my stepfather was very violent.
Okay.
And I just didn't want to stay there anymore and watch him beat on my mother and on me and people. So at 15 years old, minus 33 Celsius, I hitchhiked for 2,000 kilometers to my real father, where he lived and where my sister lived. And I was just kind of lost. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't in school. I didn't really like the work I was doing. I was building houses, which was fine, but it was hard work for not very
Yeah.
much money, you know. And so I was watching boxing one day, smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer, 17 years old. 17, I was just after 17. And I was with my brother, my older brother, and I said, "Look at that guy! Amateur boxing was on, and the guy looks so good. The guy in the corner, you know." And he goes, "Yeah, what about him?" I said, "Look how confident he looks. Look how good he feels about himself. I mean, I would just love to, like he feels about himself, just for a minute in my life, even. I mean, look at him."
That's great.
And, he goes, "Wow, yeah, well, you know, what are you gonna? How are you gonna do that?" And I said, "Well, I guess you got to be a boxer to feel that good." So I put out the cigarette and went for a run 5 miles in the snow that day. And just the next day went to the boxing gym and just decided I loved it so much. It was like a purpose, you know, like a
That's
goal,
great.
a way out, a way to, you
Yeah.
know, maybe do something in your life, you know, like it was a dream. It was it set in place the seed of a dream.
Yeah, that's great to hear. That's a great personal story, and also inspiration, because boxing was at the same time probably the way to channel something very tumultuous inside yourself, and so you could channel some kind of energy, some kind of probably of anger maybe, and also at the same time it gave you a context to express yourself and find your way through life. Actually, is that correct?
Yeah. Well, I really felt my boxing career was more about healing pain than anger. Because as a
Oh, okay.
child, I didn't. As a child, I did not have anger towards my
Hmm.
father. I was hurt. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like, I was 3 years old. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Because you take it personally. Usually,
Okay.
when our parents leave the house, it's not because of the kids. Usually, it's because the relationship, you know, or the relationship with the children makes it too much. But it's not because you are as a child.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as a child, you carry that. Like, I must be a bad person. Why else would he leave me? Why would he not want to be in my life? You know, what did I do wrong? You know, you take it on. So for me, it was more about self-esteem and than anger. You know. Now
Okay. And
that being said, I'm sorry. My stepfather was a very angry, violent person, and I didn't realize. Well, I guess I could say this. Both of them had the capacity to be very angry and violent, but I didn't know my father because he left the house when I was 3.
okay.
So have, I still have some, but I did have a lot in me from the hurt that was anger that I honestly didn't realize until I was fighting sometimes and I would hurt somebody and I would realize it didn't bother me to hurt them, you know, because I was hurt. But
That's very
after I won the world championship, it changed. I hit a guy. He fell back in the ring in sparring. His eyes rolled back, and I retired. After that, it was after the Leonard fight, and my manager said, "What are you doing? You're set to regain your world title, the heavyweight title." Leonard gave up. I was going to fight Dennis Andres for it,
yeah.
and I just said, "Dave, I don't have the same heart. I mean, I hit that kid, and I don't want to hurt. I don't want to hurt anybody." I said I desperately needed to until I became a world champion, until I had money. And then it was like I had a girl of my dreams. My wife today is still the girl I met right then 3 weeks before the Leonard fight. So my dream from boxing was build my self-esteem, do something I'm proud of, meet the girl of my dreams, and earn enough money that I'd be financially independent my rest of
Yeah.
my life. And those 3 things were accomplished. So I no longer had the anger, you know?
Yeah. So boxing,
I didn't have
boxing
the
in a way,
need anymore.
boxing healed you as a person,
Yes.
and after you were, so to speak, cured and healed, you did not feel more comfortable anymore in, like, saying, hurting people for a business.
Right.
It
Before that,
changed you.
yes. Before that, it was okay to do anything to survive.
Okay.
After I did that, of course, it's like, well, I can't hurt somebody. I mean, it's one thing to try to become the best you can be at something to save your life or your soul. And if somebody gets hurt along the way, I can accept that.
Yeah.
But after I've done that, it didn't feel right. Now let reality set in. Reality sets in. I take some time away from boxing. I'm married. I have young children. And all of a sudden there's conflict in my life because maybe I want to treat the child this way and my wife wants to treat the child that way. So you have conflict. And then you find out maybe you didn't heal everything. Right? So I went back and I boxed after the Leonard fight, I boxed for 14 more years.
Yeah, exactly. Until 2003. That's right.
And I loved it. It was fun because I had already accomplished my goal, which meant I didn't have to kill the guy.
Yeah.
I didn't have to fight. I could just box and enjoy it. And, when it came to it, like I fought Bobby Chess for the cruiserweight belt.
Yeah.
And if you look at that fight, I mean, he knocked me down in the first round. I got caught with a shot, and I don't even remember till the 5th round that I was in a boxing match, still today. But in that fight, I fought a war against a very good fighter and took quite a beating. And I didn't mind one bit. And I didn't have any problem philosophically with the fight or with boxing because I kind of, by taking some time off, I had lost an edge. And all of a sudden I felt like, okay, when I was young, last fighting Leonard like that level, almost nobody could beat me. I mean, I hit you and you were sleeping,
Yeah.
Now exactly. At 31 years old, I'm going, okay, at 31 is fair again. I'm an old man and so let's go, And then my last fight was against Virgil Hill, who was like only a year or two younger than me. We were both old men.
Yeah, I remember that, and we'll go through that because I have some a kind of a couple of interesting questions about that fight as well. Let me pick up from something very interesting that you just said. That of course, in the first part of your career, you were happy to use your natural power, and you didn't mind to see the other guy hurt in a boxing way. And after the Leonard fight, correct me if I'm wrong, is it safe to say that you were more comfortable in the ring, but a little bit more reluctant to hit the guy? I noticed that I saw some fights of you from '91 until the fight with Bobby Chaz, and I noticed that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have the chance to ask you directly.
Yeah, I was just having fun boxing.
Yeah.
People say, why are you boxing? Because I love boxing.
Okay.
Still today, I would like to box because I love it so much and it kills me. I miss it so much. But it's not because I'm desperate to prove myself to myself. It really wasn't to prove it to the world. It was to prove it to myself, Okay. And once I had done that by becoming a world champion, making the money I felt I always only needed, and marrying the girl of my dreams, what the heck else did I have to hurt somebody to prove that I'm okay, So to me, I had done what I needed to do. But after that, shoot, I'm watching boxing. I saw Virgil Hill knocked out Fabrice Tiozo.
Yeah. And
I went, Virgil Hill, he's still fighting? Oh, my God. If he can fight, why can't I fight? And it ends up 5 years later, we end up fighting in my last fight, or 3 years later, whatever it was, not long.
Yeah. That's incredible. A very Virgil also had a very long career and an incredible somehow example of how long a fighter can be in shape and carry himself in the ring. He fought very well up until 46 or 47. He was very competitive, actually.
Amazing.
And and I was in these days prior to our talk, I studied a little bit of your record, and I saw that differently from what happens now, there was a lot of activity in the first part of your career up to 86. You fought an incredible 8 times in 1986. is quite different today. How do you see that today? It's very rare that you see 8 fights in a single year. In a prospect, you were already high in the rankings, and in your opinion, why is it so different today that fighters do not want to risk their losses columns? They want to maintain the fact that they are unbeaten, and why is that so different in your opinion?
I would have to say, I think the main difference is the business side. I don't think the fighters are different. Most fighters would rather box. I would rather fight once a week than spar 5 days a week. If you can fight once a week, you wouldn't even have to spar. So I mean, like the way we would fight all the time. And as long as you're healthy, or even if you're not, And nowadays, I think the management is because I really think that most fighters probably still have the same spirit. They're just people that have this need and desire to challenge themselves or somebody. And I don't think fighters are really sitting there thinking, "Oh, but if I shouldn't fight this guy now until then." The manager does all that. The business people do that. The promoters do that. And fighters like when I was champion. Virgil Hill was champion. Charles Williams was champion. Remember? Prince Charles Williams, Virgil Hill, and myself. And of course, I wanted to fight Virgil Hill and Prince Charles Williams at the time because I was a young guy, was a champion. My manager, who was smarter than me, luckily, he said, "Why would you want to fight these guys? You're not going to make any money." And Virgil's like almost impossible to hit. The guy's like, well, sure, you could win. You're a puncher, you might land it, but the guy's literally almost impossible to hit. So it's an ugly fight at best, probably the decision. Prince Charles Williams, nobody knows him. He's not like going to make you any money, but he's literally a freaking monster. He goes, let me do my job. Let me do my job. So he was right. I fought Eddie Davies. It was a great style for me.
Yeah.
But Leslie Stewart, and I needed to fight Leslie. He was not a strategic decision other than by beating him on CBS TV in Trinidad in the middle of, the soccer field with all the drama of fighting him in his own country after Marvin Johnson had lost to him. That, to my manager, was necessary for people to believe in me to be able to fight Leonard.
Okay, so the fight with Leonard was already in the making.
Yeah, actually, before I fought Davis, about a month before.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting because one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, if from your point of view and your side, and probably your manager, the choice to fight Leonard was very much, an intelligent choice because, of course, a lot of money. But aside from that, I can imagine I am fighting an older guy, a smaller guy, a guy that is inactive, has been inactive for 1 year and a half. So why they are giving me all this money probably is something that went through your mind. I remember a quote. It was very interesting. This was also reported in the Italian commentary. And this was one of the first fights I saw on TV back in 1988. I have to be honest. And you probably said, correct me if I'm wrong, why do they have to pay me $6 million to beat an old fat welterweight? That was a genius quote, but it was the truth. And so on your side, it was a very wise decision. I also wondered why Leonard chose to fight you. Retired as a middleweight champion, comes back after 15 or 16 months, probably something like that. Why the light heavyweight champion of the world? I've always wondered about that.
He obviously saw where he thought he saw an opening that he could win that fight. And he could beat Tommy Hearns, because remember at the time, Tommy Hearns, 1 week before I fought Leonard, so it was already scheduled. Tommy Hearns was already going to fight and win his 4th belt.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Ray didn't want Tommy to have 4 and him only had 3. So this way he got 5 and Tommy had 4.
Yes. So you were in the middle of a remote fight between Tommy and Ray. Yeah, I remember.
Pretty much, And I looked like the easiest pick. I mean, it was a smarter move than fighting Virgil Hill. It was smarter than fighting Charles Williams. I mean, in fairness, it really was, because styles, if nothing else.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
I'm a little bit lighter, heavier on my feet. I'm just going forward, trying to knock you out. You know, when I was younger, I actually boxed. I could show you, like, well, when I won the world title, I boxed him like crazy. I could show you. But by the time after I won the world title, in my mind, it switched off. Okay, I boxed safely, how I was always told to be smart and be careful not to get hit. You know, I didn't care about getting hit because it didn't even bother me, because I was boxing and it didn't bother me.
Okay.
And so I always wanted to be in there and be a brawler. But my trainers and managers were like, Donny, you're a smart boxer. Box, 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 you know. So I boxed, and I could punch hard, so I was a good boxer puncher.
Yep.
After I won the world title, I didn't care what they said. I just wanted to go and have wars. I never was in a war, you know.
Yeah.
And well, the Hampshire fight was a bit of a war, but other than that, one fight. So for me, after the Leonard fight, after the Davis fight, I just fought for fun, actually, you know, and it was more fun for me to fight that style. So
and you were very confident in your power, of course, and probably that also.
Yeah, I mean, you just know when you have the ability to connect a certain way, and doesn't matter who the person is, they're
gone.
Committed for seconds. And you can be patient, you can have fun, you can be relaxed. You know, I had a good time in there. I loved it. I made jokes.
You can see
during the fight.
Yeah, you can see that. Yeah, I also saw the fight recently. The fight against Leslie Stewart, and also the first part of the fight against Ray Leonard is actually you having fun in there. You can see that, actually. You can see that. But about the Leonard fight, you knew that somehow we had to talk about that because there are some very interesting scenarios and backgrounds. I think that the most important thing is about the weight. Yes, you could allow Leonard to fight for 2 titles with the same fight, but you were also forced to drop down in weight, and that damaged your performance probably.
Well, let me say this about that. In 1984, I fought Carlos Tite at 169 pounds. And I did that because the IBF had just come out with the super middleweight belt at 168.
Okay.
So on ESPN, it was a really big deal. He was like 23-1, a big star on ESPN for Bob Arum. And I was an unknown Canadian, you know, what's he even doing here? So I get a shot and I knock him out in 2 rounds. And all of a sudden I'm number 1 in the world, or number 2 at super middleweight, the new IBF super middleweight belt.
Okay.
I was 169 pounds, and I'll tell you, look at that fight. I destroyed the guy in 2 rounds. I was very strong. It wasn't the 168 that got me. My trainer and the people in my camp were pretty overwhelmed. $6 million 30 years ago was a lot of money. So for him, $600,000 is a lot of money. Well, I mean, we had a deal with Ray Leonard. It was a verbal deal. If I came into the weigh-in, not if I can't make weight. If I came in the first time I stepped on the scale, I was over 168. It was $1 million fine per pound.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was a gentleman's agreement between us, but me and my people, we decided we were going to honor it, you know.
So let me get this straight. Every pound over 168, 1 million fines from your purse.
Right.
My God.
I went into training camp at 193 pounds. But you see, I wasn't concerned a little bit because I know my body. And so I was not at all. I said to my trainer was like, gave me the schedule. We're going to box 10 rounds against 3 different people every day for the next 8 weeks. I said, Tom, that just doesn't even add up. It makes no sense. That's 400 rounds of boxing. I mean, we can't do that much. I'll be burnt out. No, we got to get your weight down. And all I could think about was weight. And I was like, Tommy, I lose like 20 pounds when I decide to lose weight, just because I know I got a fight coming up in 2 months. I got to lose weight. In 2 weeks, I lose weight. I mean, it doesn't matter. Don't worry. I know my body. We don't have to worry about weight. he was really concerned. So he had me running a lot and sparring 10 rounds a day against 3 different people or 4 for 8 weeks. But I mean, after 3 weeks, I weighed 167 pounds.
From 193.
From 193. And I said, Tommy, I could do this. Honestly, I could do that because the weight is really just beer or water and food. You know, it's not like real soul or it's not like fat on my body. It's just bloat. I know myself, you know. I don't let myself get out of shape to build all that stuff. So, yeah, like if you're like that, like if you decide, like, let's say for 2 weeks, you're not going to worry about what you eat and you drink some beer each day with your buddies because you're celebrating from what just happened and you're eating extra food and you're up later and you eat later. Believe me, in 2 weeks, you can gain like 15, 20 pounds. Like you can gain weight, but you can also lose it that fast.
Okay.
So I had no concern about the weight, but he did.
Okay.
And we way overtrained, ran too much, sparred too much. And I was saying, I like 3 weeks later, I said, I'm 167. Forget about the weight. We don't have to worry about it. He goes, we're going to keep going at this rate. You're going to be able to fight all night long. Don't worry about it. We're going to get you down to that weight. I said, Tommy, I'm at that weight and I can fight all night long. Forget about the weight. He never got it out of his head. I went into the ring with my clothes on at the weigh-in. You see the weigh-in.
Yeah. I
have all my clothes on. At the official weigh-in, I had all those on because I weighed 163 pounds. I was skin and bone, and I didn't want them to know. 5 pounds less than I needed to. So that was the problem. The problem is I should have come in 170, cut down to 68, walked around at 170, 71 for the fight.
Okay.
Night and day. Give me 8 more pounds from 163 and I destroy Ray Leonard. He can't take those punches.
Exactly.
But at 163, it's just not the same power, you know. By the 4th round, I saw triple. 3 of him. The rest
so
of the fight.
It's not the weight. It's just that fatigue set up. Actually,
it was the overtraining. I overdid it. I'll take the responsibility. Yeah.
And
then wait, let me just say this.
Yeah.
Maybe because the weight was 163 is why we overdid it. So in a sense, it was the weight. But technically, you know what wasn't the weight. I could have been 168 and been a very strong 171, 172 pounds for the fight. Different person.
Okay, that's very interesting because somehow it's like not a no-win situation, but I try to make myself clear. You go down towards Leonard's weight and you had this kind of issue. If you fought at your natural weight or a more comfortable 168, it would have been a mismatch probably. So because Leonard could not take the punch of a real 168 or 125 pounds. So it was a very
and I mean, in fairness, yeah, no, that's correct. And in fairness, at 147 pound natural weight, Ray Leonard still today is that weight. He's just a guy, you know, like some guys can gain weight. Like what's his name? James Toney from middleweight to heavyweight, or Roy Jones. They're still the same size human being, but they can carry the weight.
Yeah,
Ray can't carry weight. I mean, the fact he beat Marvin Hagler is unbelievable because he was still a welterweight.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I meant by a fat, old welterweight. Because back in those days, 33 years old was old.
Exactly.
It was old. And anything over 30 at welterweight or under, you were old. Too old. And if you're 147 pounder, you come at 160, you can't do that naturally. Like these other guys I mentioned, they couldn't do that naturally. It's done with stimulants. And Ray's not into that. So, you know, I was still fighting a welterweight.
that makes sense.
I should have won that fight.
Yeah, and of course, as everybody knows, you were very close to actually win that fight because in the 4th round you hit him, even not square. I also I just can't imagine what happened if you hit him square in the jaw. You just
1 inch lower.
1 inch lower.
From right here to right there, and it's all over. 1 inch.
And he's gone. What was like? Bring us to in the ring with you for a second. What is like to fight a guy like Leonard, who is probably, as we can see from outside, very very quick, even at 32 years old. Very clever. Very. Did you have to adjust somehow to some kind of strategy, or did you know, or you were confident that if I just hit him, he will go? How was your mindset about the strategy of the fight?
Well, honestly, and
if you had any.
This sounds arrogant, but honestly, I honestly thought I couldn't see any way you could win that fight. I couldn't even believe the fight was going to happen. When I was in the dressing room, in my dressing room, and last time I saw him, by the way, was in Milan, Italy, a couple of years ago. But anyway, I was in my dressing room was Bob and my trainer, you know, and my trainer left after a while because I was just relaxing, you know. And the Roger Mayweather, Vinny Pazienza fight was on. I went to distance. It was a long time. Everybody was waiting. Everybody was excited to get in. So they left the room to watch all that, except Bob stayed in the room. And I fell asleep. I fell asleep just lying on the table waiting for the listening to music, you know. And my manager came in after the Mayweather fight. And he goes, come on, get up, get up. It's time to get up and get ready. And I said, yeah, okay, give me a minute. I'm just, you know, I'll get up in a minute. And a little more time went by, and I was just kind of like waking back up. And my manager goes, well, you can believe Ray Leonard, you're going to fight Ray Leonard tonight now because he's getting in the ring. Would you get up and warm up? And I had warmed up earlier. It's not like I didn't warm up. I warmed up earlier. But anyway, so I said, oh, okay, good. You know, I literally didn't think, I thought
didn't think that
you wake up and say, what am I doing getting in the ring with a light heavyweight who can punch? You know,
and they're giving me $6 million to do that. That's incredible. That's incredible. Another thing that is clear in most of the times when you see a fighter that is knocked down and out, you see that he is not coherent. The thing that always have struck me in seeing that when you went down the first time against Leonard, you were very very present to yourself, and you noted at him, like you said, yeah, you beat me. You were very, very clever in your mind.
Well, I remember, I'll never forget that moment. I remember it perfectly. So first of all, from about the fourth round on, I saw triple, 3 of him.
Okay.
So I always say, fight the guy in the middle, you know.
Yeah.
I was very delirious the whole fight. And in the 9th round, when I hit him, in 30 seconds I hurt him. He was hurt for like 2 minutes. I was hitting him. I actually looked at the referee at one time and I said, Richard, what do you want me to do? Kill this old man? But I had a mouthpiece on. And so he probably didn't hear me, you know, but I'm thinking he did. And I'm literally wanting him to stop the fight because I was hitting him, if you notice, for 2 minutes, like everything. He couldn't even make me miss a punch almost. I mean, I was hitting him with everything. And so I said that. And not a few seconds after that, we were too close together and Richard said, break. And that's when it happened. If you look, I was actually stepping away from Ray with my hand down. And my 1 foot was off the ground when he hit me. I was stepping away from him, just thinking we were just told to break. I mean, I was delirious. I was exhausted. Okay. I mean, I was focused in there, but my body was depleted, you know, and your vision and all that.
Okay.
And so when that happened, I thought he was stopping the fight because I thought it should have been stopped, you know? So when he went like this to put us apart, confused, I thought he would stop the fight.
Yeah.
And I was walking away with my hand down and Ray just reached in and hit me with a left hook. And that's when I went down. It was on a break. It wasn't
exactly. Yeah.
And then when I got up, or when I was down getting up, I thought, oh my God, a few seconds ago, I'm knocking this guy out. And I don't even know if I can stand up now. I was laughing to myself. I'm going, what am I freaking? I can't, what happened? You know? And I looked over, go, "You got me," and
you have this exactly. You have this expression like "you got me." Okay, and I read some in some places, in some articles and some other stuff that at that moment you were like thinking about quitting the fight yourself. Is that true? I didn't think like that seeing the
in the
fight, but
fight. In the fight, you mean? I was
I,
thinking of
I, I'm
quitting the fight.
yeah, after the knockdown, did you feel like quitting the fight? I read something about that, but I
No, no,
think
no,
that that's not
no, no.
correct. Okay, you
No, no. I
saw
mean,
him
I
coming
thought
and you
it was
wanted to kill
over.
him again.
I thought I had him knocked out. I thought the ref should stop it. I
Okay,
definitely didn't think to stop myself. But and yeah, and then when he did stop it, if you watch the fight and you really watch up close, he doesn't hit me in the head. He hits me the combination right hand, left hook to the throat, and it broke my larynx.
exactly.
My
Yeah, I read
larynx is
about
only
that.
half there.
Yeah, and the damage it made you some kind of damage. I read that.
Life. I mean, I have a surgery there,
Yeah,
and they try. A larynx is supposed to be round for oxygen.
yeah, exactly.
Mine is like this. This side is not in it. It's gone.
That's
So this
incredible.
one's round. This one's flat because it got crushed from the
Yeah,
punch.
actually, it did not hit you in the face, or yeah, it actually
So,
hit you in the neck. Yeah,
so
and
before the referee even said one, I was trying to get up, and he grabbed me by the shoulders, and he goes, "That's enough, Donny." I said, "No, Richard, I'm okay." But then I realized I couldn't talk because my larynx was crushed, and I realized I couldn't talk. And I didn't even think about my larynx. I just thought I had a sore throat for 3 months after.
my God,
And then
my
I was
God.
sparring. I was sparring in the gym. Jimmy Winters, a heavyweight, was sparring a heavyweight 3 months later, just because I like boxing. And he hit me kind of like somewhere near the throat, and it swelled up. And I said to my
Oh,
manager, "I have a problem in my throat." And he goes, "What happened?" I said, "I got hit in the gym today." He goes, "Really? By who?" And I told him Jimmy Winters. He goes, "Oh, he's a heavyweight." And I said, "I know, but he didn't hit me that clean or that hard, but there's something wrong with my throat." We went to the hospital, and the guy checked it. He goes, "This didn't happen today. This happened a few months ago. Did you have an
my God.
accident?" You have an accident, and it was the Leonard fight. And that's when we realized it actually happened in the Leonard fight. And the
My
crazy
God.
thing of all of the things is we had a multi-million-dollar insurance policy in case you got a career-ending injury in the fight.
And it could have been actually a career
I
ending.
never thought for 10 years about that policy. 10 years later, I thought, oh my God, I could have claimed millions.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible stories. And that's, of course, the most important, not only fight, but probably event of your career. But I'm sure that if we go through the record, you can probably pick up at least one or two other pivotal moments in your career. It happens often when I carry out this interview that most of the times the most important fight for a champion is not necessarily a big event like this, or a fight
Right.
when you won the title. Which is yours, if you have any?
Well, winning the title was definitely, obviously, for obvious reasons, right up there, right? That's what it's all about. But there were two other fights that I would have to say were maybe as significant, though people don't know of them as much. And one is Mustafa Hamsho.
Okay.
This guy fought a war with Marvin Hagler for 11 rounds. It was in Madison Square Garden. It was so neat to be in Madison Square Garden fighting Mustafa Hamsho. We fought in the Felt Forum, and it was packed to the walls. No fight had ever had that many people in the Felt Forum, because he was a big New York guy, and then I was coming up.
Yeah, very, very, very famous in that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the winner moved to number 1 in the world and got a shot at Eddie Davies, it was Eddie Davies because he was 1. So we moved to number 2. We were 2 and 3. and we got to fight for the vacated belt.
Yeah.
So, that was a very, very big fight for me. I mean, not bigger than a world title, but pretty much, And it was against a guy who was like an animal. The guy was crazy, I really enjoyed the fight. It was fun. But he was nuts, And I mean, he would try and, I have a scar on my shoulder from the surgeries and a pin in here, and he would try and break my arm, tear it out, He would elbows, headbutts, low blows.
Street fight somehow.
So dirty, but it was funny to me because I was outboxing him so much, and I just thought if he could beat me, then he would be boxing, not doing this stuff. But since he's doing this, I'm winning, So anyway, it was a really great fight, and it went 12 rounds. It was in New York. It was a big deal. And then the other one was the one I mentioned earlier, Carlos Tite. Because again, I was a Canadian in the early 80s. No Canadian had won a world championship for 70 years or whatever. It's been a long time. Just before I fought and won the title, Matthew Hilton, a Canadian, did win the welterweight title or junior like that. But anyway, that was a big deal. And now this is a couple years before Hilton won. So at this point, nobody had won in 70 years as a Canadian. And in America, I was the Canadian champion. So Bob Arum, who had ESPN, I was begging him to let me fight on ESPN. And he was like, Donny, why would I want you to fight on ESPN? I said, because I'm better than these guys. He's like, yeah, but who cares? You're Canadian. Nobody knows you. White guys can't fight. Canadians can't fight. Forget, Bruce Trampler really more than Bob, but both of them. And then one day they phoned me and said, you still want to fight Carlos Tite? Because I kept saying this guy, Carlos Tite, is your big star. He's 23-1. I can beat this guy. I know I sparred with him once. He's nothing. And they said, well, he sells out the stadium and people love him on TV. So why would we want you to beat him? I said, because I'm better. I said, we don't care who's better. We care who sells more tickets,
Exactly.
So anyway, one day I get a phone call. Are you ready to fight Carlos Tite? And I said, well, of course I am, but why? And he said, well, he's trying him and his brother are selling tickets in the back door of the arena, and they're doing some, bad stuff with our contract. So we're going to get rid of them. You get the first chance if you want. So that was a really big opportunity for a Canadian to get on ESPN against the number 1 or 2 guy in the world. That if I win that fight, I get a world title fight at super middleweight against Chong Pao Park and Murray Sutherland, the winner.
Yep.
You remember that. So that was a big, big fight for me. It was in the States. And I had just read Ali's book, The Greatest. And Gorgeous George the wrestler, had told Ali, and boxing is a dangerous game like wrestling. You got to make as much money as you can every time you get in there. So if you ever get in front of the media, never lose an opportunity to say something people will never forget. And I had read that. And so before the fight, I was going to the weigh-in. I brought a white tuxedo, dyed my hair blonde, never before that. And that's when I said the golden boy, Yeah. And so I go to his hometown with rooms full of his people, literally nobody there for me. And I walk in with a white tuxedo with the dyed blonde hair. And I had been thinking about what George said to Ali. And I was like, okay, I got to think of poems. I got to think of things to say, So I go up there and I sit down, and he was Carlos the Force Tite. And I was like, Carlos the Force Tite, he's no force, he's a farce. I'm going to have fun for 1. He'll be through in 2. This fight's a joke, blah, blah, blah. And I got all the media, and they just loved it. And then the fight, I did the same thing, and I had some fun in the ring and in the first round. And then the second round, I knocked him out. So that was that changed my life, maybe even more. Well, not more than winning a world title, but right up there, right?
Yeah, that was exactly what I was trying to find out. It's a very a common thing again, that some of the most important fight of a champion's career it's not necessarily only the title fights, but also these building up fights. And I'm always interested in trying to understand which is what. So thank you for sharing that with us. Very, very interesting. And let me ask you this, Donny. I'm picking up from these, scenarios where, of course, you uh, live up to the event, and there's showing yourself and your personality and taking advantage of being in front of the media. But if I am correct, and if I found the correct information, there is also a situation, an episode where you refused some of extra money in the Leonard fight for not having the advertising of a beer in your robe, to be loyal to your belief that you didn't want to be associated with drinks. Is that something of a legend? Is that true?
I do remember that. I don't remember it quite that staunch, that I took that staunch of a position, because I do know that I'm just trying to think of where that, if I actually made that stand, because I don't believe I did in the end, because HBO, after the fight, wanted us to come to studio to do an interview.
Yeah.
That's right. They were paying $350,000 for us to do that interview. I was thinking it was the beer company. I mean, we did have Coors Light as a sponsor. So, I mean, I would like to say I stood up for that, and I might have spoken that. But we did have them as a sponsor, and I did not fight because of it or something. I would like to take that pat on the back, but I don't think I can really.
Okay. It's always interesting, and it's our privilege to, understand this kind of detail.
I've drank enough of the beer since then.
Okay, that's also true. You went, Donny. You went from 168 to the light heavyweight. You fought as a cruiserweight, so you had quite a moving on the scale, and it looked like it was quite easy for you. Probably you had the type of body that could allow you to do that, as we were saying before. And I wanted to ask you something about what do you think about this new weight division, which they call the Bridgerweight, the WBC initiative to call the Bridgerweight, which is something like between cruiserweight and heavyweight. Do you think that it is a good thing for boxing, a safe thing for boxing? Is it completely useful in your opinion? What's your take on that?
As an old school boxing guy, I don't like all these weight classes in general. Okay. Especially 3 or 4 champions in each one.
That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
So to start the answer with that. Now, that being said, it is true that a lot bigger men today are much more athletic than they were back in the day. So if you've got a guy like me, or Bobby Ches, or Virgil Hill, Michael Spinks, guys who are light heavyweights, you can't naturally gain 20, 30 pounds and be a heavyweight at 25 years old, 28 years old. So anybody doing that is doing it with drugs. I don't care what they say.
Okay.
So first of all, that already I'm not interested in, because I want to know how good I can be, not how me and some drug company can be, But if Tyson Fury is not taking steroids to be a big guy, if guy is 6'7", 240 or whatever freaking pounds this guy is, and a guy, 6 foot, 200 pounds, I mean, there is quite a difference, and maybe it does make some sense. But I don't know about Bridgerweight. Why not call it heavyweight and call it super heavyweight? Or something, because it's not about the middleweight. It's not about the heavyweight division. It's about just how big these guys are getting.
Yeah, exactly. And this is probably the demonstration also that as you were saying before, food and science and training probably have changed. So it was very difficult to have athletic guys over 235 in the 80s or maybe at the beginning of the 90s.
Yeah.
And now today you have very athletic guys that are very well beyond 230 and 240. And so the old saying that beyond 200 pounds weight difference were nothing it's
irrelevant.
probably not true anymore.
Correct. That's what I think.
Okay.
But I still think it should be 175 to say 220 is heavyweight. You know, and then 220 and up is super heavyweight. I don't know. The cruiserweight thing, I don't really think you need, because from, you know, if you're walking, like I fought Virgil, I weighed 184.
Yeah.
He did everything he could to get to 200, down to 200. Okay. I did everything I could to get up to 184. I mean, I literally have to eat and drink all day to try and keep it on so I can sit on the scale and it not look like I'm too small, you know.
Okay.
I was naturally 171 to 173 when I fought. It didn't matter if I was super middleweight, light heavyweight, cruiserweight, didn't matter. That's what I weigh. And I mean, I don't know how other people can weigh different by 30, 40 pounds and it be natural. I just don't understand that. I don't believe that's true. Maybe it is. Maybe I just can't. I don't know.
Okay.
So yeah, my natural weight class was as a light heavyweight, but it was easy enough for me to go up to cruiser or heavy. But you know, it wasn't smart to fight at cruiser, because guys at cruiser are like 230 pounds going down to 200. You know, back up, you're fighting a guy 210 pounds when really you're 180. It was dumb. Yeah. I didn't need to fight cruiserweight, but I just wanted to do something different than light heavy because I had already done it. I'm just like that. So I thought I wanted to try super middleweight. I wanted to try cruiserweight.
What about the fight with Virgil Hill? Because it was actually a fight that probably could have take place like 10 years before. Could have been a much more interesting matchup, of course. And I also read that in that fight you probably had some kind of a problem with your sight. Is that true? Probably you had some sparring, little bit of a sparring injury, and so you had your eyes were not really straight in that fight. Is that correct?
The unfortunate thing for me with the Hill fight is I really respected Virgil Hill, and I really liked him. He's a good person, but I wanted to beat him. You know, because I mean, he was an Olympic medalist. I never got to the Olympics. He was a great champion. And at that point, you know, as the boxing sayings go, the legs are the first to go. His best attribute was legs.
Okay.
The punch is the last to go. That's my best, you know. So I thought, I mean, you narrow down the odds where you're slowing him down a bit and giving me a bit of a chance. I got a shot here, you know.
Okay.
Well, let me tell you, the camp for that fight was unbelievable. I started in Houston. Do you remember the name Lou Savarese?
Of course.
Heavyweight, yeah.
Heavyweight.
Yeah. He's a good friend. So I went to Houston to train with Lou. And at his gym, Ronnie Harris or something was the trainer. I can't remember. But it was so hot in Houston, I would have been a welterweight for the fight with Hill, like for the cruiserweight fight. I was there for a week, and I said, I have to leave. I'm literally going to be a middleweight soon. So when I was there, we were talking, and Lou and I were talking, and I said, hey, Lou, I saw you fight Tyson. I saw the highlights. And I'm wondering, how the hell did you let him hit you with that uppercut? I mean, you could see it from a mile away. And he goes, Donnie, don't tell anybody, because he still wanted to fight. He goes, don't tell anybody. I said, what's that? He goes, I got hit with a shot in sparring, and it split lining in my eye. Oh. And now when I look down, I have a split screen, and I can't see. He goes, I can look to the side or down, and I get a split screen. I can look straight or up, and I'm fine.
Okay.
And I had never heard of such a thing. He goes, I've had this for a while. I've been fighting guys. I mean, like, you know, you wouldn't believe the guys I fought with this eye. And I'm like, wow, Lou, that's crazy. You know, I would never fight like that, blah, blah, blah. A couple of weeks later, so I go to Freddie Roach's gym to train at Wild. Walking up the stairs, first day there, some got me on the stairs and say, Donnie, you're into natural medicine, right? And I'm like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. So we get talking. They go, I have this little product. If you get a cut or abrasions or something, you know, you're in your 40s and you're sparring, you know, this will help heal them. I'm like, wow, okay, great. Thank you. So anyway, and I never really got cut in sparring. Maybe never, you know. And I mean, I got a cut right here once playing hockey, but like in sparring, not much. Maybe never. And so anyway, he's right. The first couple sparring, I'm getting all these marks, you know, and I put this stuff on. It works. Well, after about 2 weeks, I get a cut, an actual cut from sparring.
Okay.
And I put this stuff on, and a few days later, it's gone, and I'm sparring again. He's like, wow, you know, okay, cool. goes by. We couldn't get any sparring one day, and Freddie says, "Oh my God, what's his name? Justin Fortune. Justin will give you a few rounds. He's 245 pounds.
Very big guy, Justin Fortune.
Yeah. I'm like, all right. I mean, not quite like Virgil Hill, but okay, you know. And he couldn't hit me. You know, I was just like making him just get my shoulders. He wasn't hitting me. And he got frustrated. So he threw a bomb around my back of my ribs because I was blocking everything. And he broke 3 ribs.
Oh, my.
This is 3 weeks before the Hill fight.
Oh, my.
Okay. My brother's in a school at that point, a chiropractic school. So they have an x-ray machine there. And I'm in LA. So I go with him. He goes, just come with me tomorrow. They'll do your x-rays for you for nothing. So I go there and they do them, 3 broken ribs, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, what normal people would say to cancel the fight. But I'm thinking there's got to be an answer. There's an answer in nature, right? So I got a hold of a friend of mine who had done a video, a CD, and I still have it, called Acidity, the Myth of 10,000 Diseases. He's a very, very knowledgeable natural medicine guy. I can get into that story later, another day.
Okay.
So I phone him and I say, Gary, this is my situation. I tell him. He goes, okay, where are you? I'm in LA. Okay. 2 hours south of you. I've got this contact, blah, blah, puts it together. I go see this guy. I swear to God, I lie. It's in a big warehouse. Okay. Lindsay Davenport has her autograph on his thing, a bunch of athletes, you know. It's in a big warehouse, and he's got a enormous magnet. I mean, enormous magnet hanging from the ceiling. Because Friday dinner time, I'm going to go home and eat. I'm going to put you on this thing. I'm going to turn the lights off. Go to sleep if you want. I said, I'll sleep. I've just been sparring. I'm tired. I'll sleep. No problem. I'll see you tomorrow. He goes, no, I'm going to come in and probably in the middle of the night. As soon as you're okay, I'm going to come in and get it, and you can go home. Okay. But 1 o'clock in the morning, he comes in, turns on the light. I wake up because I did fall asleep. And he starts moving around with his hands and stuff, and I could still feel like the intercostals, the cartilage and stuff, still tender. But he's pressing. He goes, no, your rib's good. And I said, what do you mean it's good? He goes, it's healed. You're fine. You can go home now. I said, I know, but Doc, you got to understand. I've got to fight against Virgil Hill. This guy's a freaking world champion. I wait my whole life to fight this guy. I'm 43. I want to fight in 3 weeks. He goes, oh, no, you're not going to hurt your rib. The rib's healed. I said, but I got to spar like this week. You know, it's Friday. Like a Monday, I got to spar. He goes, Monday, I'd give it a couple days. You know, I sparred that Wednesday.
Incredible.
3 weeks later, 3 broken ribs. It was healed. I swear to God.
Incredible.
But I'm still getting to the story. Okay. So a week before the fight, 1 week exactly. Now remember, I'm promoting this fight. And I have no money. I need this money. I got ESPN, 100 grand. You know, Virgil's getting that, but I get the rest. And you know, I can put some sponsors. Then, you know, so I'm working all this stuff. But a week before the fight, Freddie, I spar 8 rounds. 4 with some guy and 4 with James Toney. And I felt great, you know. Okay. And Freddie goes, give me one more round. Give me one with Kingsley. This guy named Kingsley Aikike. He's a Canadian.
Oh, yeah.
Big, long African guy. Remember him? His knuckles are like, he's called Sharp Knuckles. His nickname was Sharp Knuckles. I'm like, Freddie, what do I need with this guy? You know, I feel great. I just boxed 8 rounds, 4 with James Toney. We did great. It was good, you know. He goes, give me one with Kingsley. He's long arms. He's fast. It'll just make you feel good going into the hard fight with Verge. I said, I feel great, Freddie. I don't want to spar with this kid. He's like freaking orangutan. I boxed him lots, you know, but a week before the Hill fight, no, I don't need to spar with this guy. Anyway, he's the trainer, so I go, okay, bell rings. And I walk out there, my fault, just flat-footed, just kind of like, okay, I'm just going to get through the round. I'll just walk and, you know, stubborn. You know, I'm going to show him I'm going to do the round, but I'm not going to really try, you know.
Okay.
First punch he throws, a jab, hits me in the eye, slices my eye open.
Oh, my.
Worse than that, it hit my eyeball. And it did something to it. Like it was so sharp it went down my back to my sciatic nerve.
My God.
And I looked over at Freddie and he goes, oh, my God, stop. He goes, you're cut. And I said, Freddie, the cut's the least of our problems. I can fix that with the stuff these guys gave me. I said, I've got a problem in my eye. It's in a lot of pain. And he goes, well, come on, get out of the ring. Let's go. We've got to get this cleaned up. Do you think, you know? And I said, don't worry about the cut. I'm not worried about the cut. We're not canceling the fight because he says, we have to cancel the fight. You're cut. I said, Freddie, forget about the cut. You've seen the other cut. I healed it. 3 days. This shit worked. So forget the cut. But I'm telling you, I've got a problem in my eye. It's that, you know? And he goes, what do you mean you got a problem in your eye? And so like for like the days leading up after that, I was like, Freddie, I can see if I do this, perfect. I can see if I can do this, perfect. But together they. And he said, well, should we go to the doctor? And I said, no, hell no. If we go to the doctor, he's going to tell us what's wrong and tell me I can't fight. But we got to, you know, I just want you to know. So when we're talking about the fight, you know that I've got this problem, you know. Anyway, because my head, my eye was swollen and black and blue and cut. And so we got rid of the cut. Swelling went away. But I had this problem in my eyesight. So when we're in the dressing room, because we didn't train because my eye couldn't move my head. Of course, my head was swelled.
Of course.
So when we're in the dressing room, I'm like banging the pads, popping them really good, feeling really good, you know, but I kept saying, Freddie, there's something off. Like, I mean, like when you move over here like that, I see like trails of that thing there. I can't see you, just one of you, you know. Like, what do you mean? Anyway, so we're having this conversation while we're warming up for the fight, you know. He goes, well, there's nothing we can do now, right? I said, I know. Okay. So anyway, we go in there, and I literally couldn't see Virgil. I mean, I could see him, but as you know, Virgil moves well. And the way my eyesight is, it's like this. That's what I see.
Oh, my God.
I don't see one thing doing this. I see like that. If you're
like,
moving.
Like smearing, like, yeah.
Yeah, like because there's it's a split screen, it's called.
My God.
So if you got a split screen, you see 2. And then if those are moving, it gets to 8, you know, like this. Like right now, looking at you, I see a number of me on the screen. And if I'm straight, I don't. So if you notice, I keep adjusting my eyes because I have to do that in life ever since then.
My God.
So anyway, go into this fight with Virgil Hill. He's got like the jab just like sticking in my face. I can't even see it coming. I literally don't even see it coming. Just bam, bam, bam.
That's probably the craziest thing I've ever heard about. You know, training for a fight and actually fighting like that. Incredible.
Well, you know, I knew if I could just stay close to him or get close to him and land that one big right hand, I might be able to knock him out. That was the game plan. But of course, he's Virgil Hill. So in the 7th round, I hit him with that shot. And he was hurt, and I knew it. And I tried to get him out of there, and I couldn't because I couldn't see very well. Couldn't hit him. Hitting his shoulders, I hit all kinds of stuff. And afterwards, we're doing autographs. And he goes, Donny, what the hell happened in the 7th round? I go, what do you mean what happened? I thought I cut you with a good shot. And he goes, I know. He goes, I was so out of it. I just kept thinking, why doesn't he just push me over? He goes, I couldn't barely even stand up. All you do is, hey, hit me. I said, hey, Joe, I couldn't even fucking see you. He goes, what do you mean? You pulled out my eye.
That's an incredible story, Don. Really, that's why I love actually having this kind of conversations, because those are the things that you never can read or catch up. You just have to listen from the champion, the fighter itself, and it was really an incredible story, as all of your career. We are, you know, as for me personally, when you enjoy something, time flies. We are very well over our hour of conversation, and no, it's actually great, and I'm very happy. I'm so happy that we went like this so far, and I hope that can be a sequel, a chapter 2 or chapter 3.
There's plenty of stories, that's for sure.
Plenty of stories, exactly. So I'm sure that our Facebook group, Vita da Pugili, will enjoy more of this. So if you agree, we can, you know, set up some other moments so we can go to another chapter. Okay.
Absolutely.
If you like. Just as we are closing our first conversation, I hope, if you could extract just one single piece of advice for a young Italian fighter that is approaching boxing, what is the best, most single attribute that you should work on to try and be successful in your experience?
In boxing, the number 1, 2, and 3 most important thing for me was being in control of myself in that ring.
Okay.
If I'm in control of me, I'm in control of him. As soon as he has me adjusting to him, I'm in trouble. So
that's great.
Bob Dylan has a great quote. If you want somebody you can trust yourself. You know?
That is good for boxing, and of course, it's probably even better for life itself, probably. And that's the great piece of advice. Donny, it was a real pleasure having you here with us with so many interesting stories. Really, I'm not joking. I hope we can have a 2 or more sequels about that. I'm sure you have so many stories about your career and boxing. I would love to have other episodes of the Donny Lalonde saga for for Vita da Pugili. And thank you very much. You were so kind.
My pleasure. And hello, Italy. And I'll see you soon, I sure hope.
We'll wait for you. And as soon as it gets better, you're more than welcome in our country. We hope to meet you in person. Donny, thank you very much for your time.
Take care, Alessandro. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.